Hi, I'm Chris F. Harvey. It isn't often that you get to interview one of your heroes, but that's exactly what I'm doing today. It's with great pleasure that I'd like to welcome Mr. Brian Tracy, best-selling author, motivational speaker, and inspiring business coach. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Chris. It's just a real pleasure to be with you again after our time together in Saigon.
Okay, well, it's great to see you again. Brian, today I'd like to talk about sales. You are one of the world's top experts in the science, some might say the art of sales. I've found that there's a lot of confusion out there about what sales is. How would you define sales?
Well, if you look at the psychology of it, the reason that people do anything is to improve their lives or work in some way. The reason that companies produce products and services is to improve the lives and works of their prospective customers. So basically, sales is a form of professional information. It's showing people that there are products and services that they may not have been aware of that can enable them to achieve their goals, to improve their lives in a cost-effective way. Ultimately, sales is the process of persuasion, but it is persuading people who already have a want and a need and a desire by explaining to them, by teaching them that this product or service can enhance the quality of their life and work. And that's why selling is a wonderful profession, because basically good salespeople see themselves as helpers. They find people who were not aware that their lives could be improved with a product or service that now exists, and they show them how it can be improved, and very often the sale takes care of itself.
So in other words, you'd say sales is more like understanding someone's problems and offering them a solution that they need. It's not tricking people or fooling people into buying something.
No, it's actually helping and teaching. The very best salespeople are salespeople who have a really strong desire to help people with their product or service. Mm-hmm. And of course, since there's always sales resistance because people are approached with sales offers all day long, the salesperson has to be charming, has to be friendly, has to be persistent to break through basically the noise in the customer's mind. The most valuable commodity in business today is attention. Mm-hmm. And people's attention is overwhelmed by so many things, and the salesperson's job is to break that attention by communicating that there is a new product or service that can dramatically enhance the quality of the life or work of the customer, and then explaining how it works.
Brian, I'm in the technology space, and I've been in technology for a while. A lot of people in technology are very smart, and they create really amazing products. They put them on the web, and they expect people to come and buy, and they don't understand why people don't. What are they missing? Are they missing the idea that people need to be sold or need to be explained why their product can solve problems for them?
Well, I work with technology companies here in San Diego, which is a bit of a hub, and it's amazing how many of these companies were started by engineers or technicians who have never been in sales. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize that every single customer is beset on all sides by every type of message saying, buy me, buy me, buy me. For you to get the attention of the customer, you have to really think through what is it that my product or service offers that is so attractive that this person will stop and pay attention. Uh-huh. It's interesting. They've done all kinds of studies on attention, and they find that if the number one draw for men is a picture of an attractive woman. Is you show a picture of an attractive woman with or without clothes, is men instantly look straight at. For women, it's a baby.
Okay.
Women are more quickly fascinated by babies. The reason I tell that is that if you have a product or service, you have to be able to convey very quickly that there is a real benefit or advantage that the customer wants and desires to using this product or service, which catches their eye.
Okay.
It has to catch their eye from the first headline, the title of the advertisement, to pull them into even being aware of it. And this is a real art. And selling, we say marketing is the business of getting people's attention, and then selling is the business of showing them how the product or service can help them, and then encouraging them to buy.
Okay. And Brian, there seems to be a human element here a lot, not just having your clear in your mind what problem your product solves and getting their attention quickly. But I've found, at least in my old company, we sold online jobs, that we needed a human component. We could bombard them forever with the bright messages that say, hey, we can solve your problem, but until we had human contact, it often didn't work. Why is that?
Well, because human beings are completely emotional, Chris, and they are not activated even to thinking about you until you connect with their emotions, until there's something in your offering. Now, if they have a very strong need and you show that your product or service will satisfy that need, that connects with their emotions. But the most important part is that they like you and trust you.
Okay.
Yeah, because every customer has made bad buying decisions, and therefore they're skeptical, they're suspicious, they're cautious, they have less money, they have more choices, so they won't even pay attention to you unless there's some kind of connection, which means that they like you, they trust you, and they're open to your message.
So the human connection is often a connection that's missed by technical people or engineers in selling a product.
Yes, they don't realize that virtually everything they buy is triggered by emotion, and it never occurs to them that everything that anybody else buys is triggered by an emotion, even if it's a technical product. You see, for example, all high tech is aimed at accelerating the process of achieving a particular result. That's the whole purpose of every new advance, is to speed up the process. And time is extremely valuable to people. So therefore, when you show that your product or service will enable them to achieve a desired result faster and more predictably, they're instantly interested. That connects with an emotion, connects with a desire. And if they like you and you tell them that your product or service will help them do this, then you have 2 for 1.
So what I'm hearing here is the sales is like the missing link. You could have the best product in the world, but if you don't have someone who can communicate that value proposition and make an emotional connection, you're going to have a tough time in business.
Absolutely. And I work with companies here that are just on the verge of dying. They have what they consider to be outstanding technology, but nobody in the company knows anything about selling. When we had the dot-com boom, then the dot-bomb boom in the 90s, late end of the 90s, it was because none of these people knew how to sell anything. And they were running around developing products that either nobody wanted or that they could not convey the benefit. You should be able to convey the total benefit of your product or service in 12 to 15 words, so strongly that a person sees the 12 to 15 words or fewer and says, I want that now, that's for me. Again, using the example of a beautiful half-dressed woman is the happiest married man who's 75 years old. His pupils will dilate and he'll be distracted when an attractive woman walks past. You have to get the attention of your customer by focusing in on how your product or service can really help to improve the customer's life.
Okay. Brian, what separates a good salesperson from an average or a mediocre one?
Well, there are several things. First of all, the salesperson really loves the product.
Okay.
And really believes that this product can really help people. And they're excited about it. An example I like to use is if you go to a good movie and you really enjoy the movie, the next day you tell people, geez, you've got to go to this movie. It's just such an excellent movie. And that's how salespeople feel. They feel that their product or service is really excellent. It can really make a positive difference in the lives of their customers, and they're very excited about telling people about it. And of course, they're friendly, they're charming, they're extroverted, they're persuasive, but it comes from a depth of conviction. They own it themselves, they use it themselves. Walt Disney once said, you must know your product, you must love your product, you must love your customer. And those 3 are the keys. You have to really know how your product works. You have to love the product. You have to really love the customer, really care about your customer.
Yeah, I found that you can't fake that. You can't fake the passion.
No.
People can feel it. Yeah.
They can feel it, and there's all kinds of research that shows that people buy your conviction as much as they buy anything else. They They respond to your emotional conviction that this is good for them. And because if they like you, they automatically are influenced by the depth of your conviction.
Okay. And Brian, last one thing I learned, and I learned it from you, is from your books and your videos, especially Psychology of Selling, which is fantastic, is that sales is a process. There are certain steps that salespeople follow. A lot of people think, oh yeah, sales is just talking. It's not just talking. It's a defined process. Could you speak for just a minute about that and what that means?
Well, imagine meeting a new person. And sometimes, you've heard my examples in my courses, when you meet a new person, the first thing you go through is a casual introduction. How are you? You ask questions, you get to know the person. As you talk about subjects deeper and deeper, you can then make suggestions to that person. Have you ever thought of doing this? But there's a process, and you know the 7 steps is, first of all, to make sure you're speaking to someone who can genuinely benefit from your product or service. Second of all, to build trust and rapport with that person by asking a lot of questions. Third of all, to ask them questions to identify their exact need for what you sell. Fourth of all, to show them that your product or service is the ideal choice to satisfy that need. Fifth of all is to answer any questions or objections they may have. Sixth of all is to ask them to make a decision. And seventh is to follow up and take such good care of them that they buy again and they tell their friends. And that brings us back to the top of the funnel again. And these 7 steps are so logical, but they've shown that if you don't follow the 7 steps, or you follow the steps out of order, you actually kill the sale. If you jump and start talking about your product before you have qualified the person, find out if they need it, or built rapport with them, or asked them questions, you kill the sale. So there's a time and a place for each part of the process. And sales professionals are taught this. I've worked with 1,000 large companies. 100% of them really take the sales process seriously. They very carefully select their salespeople. They train them thoroughly. They manage them excellently, because they recognize that sales is like the blood to the brain. They're like oxygen. Without sales, the company founders and very quickly. Many companies in business for 50 years will go broke in a year because the sales effort stopped working. So
sales is often the missing link, especially in technology companies. It's a process.
Absolutely.
It's human-based.
It's human-based, and it's absolutely essential. It's connecting with the needs, the wants, the desires, the hopes, the ambitions of the prospect, and showing them that this product or service can enhance their lives.
So Brian, there's probably people watching this right now who are thinking, gosh, I have a great product, I'm excited about it, but I don't know how to sell. And I don't know how to hire salespeople or build a sales team. What advice would you give them?
Well, 2 things. First of all, as you and I know, Chris, selling is learnable. I didn't know how to sell when I started off. I found that the best salespeople and sales trainers were terrible at selling when they first began, and then they began to study the craft. Like, you wouldn't expect to be able to speak a language without studying it, or to repair a piece of machinery without understanding it. Selling is a learnable process. And if you learn the process and practice it, you become excellent. Now, if you're a business and you've got a business and you don't have sales, the smartest thing you can do is get a professional salesperson and or sales manager, depending upon the size of the business. Get someone who's got the years of experience, who can step in and is ready from day one. Every company to survive needs at least one excellent salesperson. They call this, in one of the books I read, it's called an outperformer. This is a person who's absolutely outstanding at selling. My favorite example, Chris, is Hewlett-Packard. Hewlett-Packard began in a garage in Silicon Valley. It was the beginning of Silicon Valley. The garage is now a national landmark. And Hewlett was an excellent engineer, and Dave Packard was a fabulous salesman. And the 2 of them together built one of the biggest and best companies in the world. But they had a sales guy from the first time, and that's what companies need. Without that, they haven't got a chance. They'll be trying to sell against competitors who have great salespeople, and they haven't got a chance.
You know, that duality has occurred many times in business. I think of Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, same thing.
Absolutely. You've got to have a sales guy.
Yeah.
You've got to have a person who just loves to tell people about the product and show them how much better they can be with it.
Mm-hmm. Great. So sales is learnable. That's great. And for anybody watching, I'd really suggest going to www.briantracy.com. Some wonderful resources there, Brian, about sales.
Yes.
So,
and especially the closing the sale. I just came from the studio, Chris, where we've just recorded all 24 closing techniques in 5 separate videos. And they're training tools. And it's just astonishing how many people all over the world have transformed their sales organizations with those closing techniques. Because if people know how to ask for the order, they have far more confidence in actually calling on people in the first place.
You know, Brian, when I was working at my old company, our salespeople had a real tough time closing. They could get in the door, they were passionate about the product, they could identify needs and identify the customer really needed the product, but they couldn't get over the hump of selling. And when we taught them one of your techniques, which was asking the customer, do you have any other questions or concerns I haven't addressed yet? And the customer says yes, and you address the concern, you ask the question again. Do you have any other questions or concerns? No? Well, then the next step is we do the order. And when our salespeople learned that and started using it, it was like a light bulb went off, and they couldn't believe how well it worked. It was really exciting.
It's a very professional approach. It's low key. There's no pressure. It's just focusing on helping the customer and making sure the customer has no further questions.
Great. Brian, I really want to thank you for your time today. We've learned a lot about sales, and it's incredible to share these valuable learnings with my viewers. Thank you so much.
It's a real pleasure, Chris. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay, thanks.